Hi, everyone. I'm Mason.
I'm DeAndre.
And we are the All Authority Podcast.
So today, the topic that I want to discuss, or that we want to discuss, is the topic of motivation. Since on Monday we're doing the topic of motivation, I thought it would be better to just talk about motivation in general. One of the things that I've noticed about people, especially the older that we get, is that we struggle maybe to find a reason to get up and get moving, get going, really in the morning. And to varying degrees, some people really struggle with it. Some people don't struggle with it at all, but I don't know too many people who don't struggle with it at all. Have you ever met someone who doesn't struggle with that at all?
No, not one person.
Yeah. I really can't think of one person in my life either who just every single day they're able to hop up. They have a reason to get up. They just kind of know. Well, actually, my dad is pretty, he's kind of like that. I don't know if he's motivated or if he's just built himself up like
disciplined.
That. Yeah, he's very disciplined. So I guess that's kind of not true. I guess I have met one person. He's kind of a rarity though. So in regard to this topic, a lot of people don't think that's a very biblical topic, but I assure you that is a biblical topic. So I want to kind of take you in a lesson, and there's going to be kind of 4 points to this lesson. He and I are going to be doing. I'll give you the points kind of starting off. The first point is we're going to talk about the importance of rest. The second point is we're going to talk about the importance of not resting too much, finding that balance in life. The third point is not making excuses for ourselves, being careful with that. Excuses just hold us back. And then the last point is discipline. So let's kind of start with that. The first verse I want to start with, if you don't mind reading for us, it's Proverbs 20. In fact, you know what? I want to take them to rest first. Let's do the Sabbath. So go to Genesis chapter 2.
Genesis chapter 2.
Yep, Genesis 2.
My thumbs will work for me right now. All right.
Read verse 2.
And on the seventh day, God finished his work that he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work that he had done.
So, in this particular text, I don't want you to mistake the fact God had done 6 days worth of work, and it's not as though he got to the seventh day and then he was tired. God doesn't get tired. He doesn't sleep. He doesn't slumber. He watches over us. He's always available in that sense. So, it's not like, for example, if you wake up at 3 a.m. and you start praying, that God is asleep. He's not going to hear your prayers or things like that. It's not like God takes a day off every week. But in this sense, he's just kind of setting a precedent for us, for ourselves, because we aren't God. And so what that means is that we have to rest. We have to take some time. And I don't necessarily mean sleep when I say rest. I mean like doing nothing.
Yep.
You ever just do nothing?
Yes, that's been the day for the most part.
Doing nothing?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what I mean by doing nothing is like, do you like set aside a day where you just say, I'm not going to clean, I'm not going to cook, I'm not going to work, I'm not going to call anybody, I'm not going to go hang out with anybody, I'm just going to hang out in the house today. Do you have a day like that?
Some of those things maybe, but not everything.
Okay.
So there's certainly days where I'm like, well, I'm not going to clean. Mm-hmm. I'm going to very rarely answer my phone for business. I'll send it to voicemail. Mm-hmm. So to kind of give you guys a heads up, I'm actually really excited to do this because I feel like this is going to be something that I need to hear personally. Okay. So yeah. I don't want to give too much personal stuff out, I guess. Okay. But maybe if you're like me, you're overwhelmed. I'm on grand jury duty right now. I'm a full-time college student starting next week. Yep. I'm still doing church stuff full-time, podcast full-time, still running my own business full-time, still a father, husband. So I have a lot on my plate right now when it comes to things that need to be done, so I'm kind of swallowed up by it. And sometimes when I get up in the morning, I'm kind of like that. I don't want to. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to function.
Yep. I felt that pain. Well, so I've done that a handful of times where I don't do anything in a day. The last time I did it was like during the summer. I had like one day where I said I'm not going to do absolutely anything, which is really bad because from what we just read, you're supposed to rest here once a week is what we kind of just read here. And the last time I actually had a day where I did absolutely nothing was the summer. So that's a long time. But so first off, the reason why I don't do that is because I have so many things to do. I neglect this. And that's bad. So what I'm saying is what I've been doing is wrong. I shouldn't be doing that. That's number one. Number two, I don't like schedule it. You know what I mean? I don't have like a day where I plan to do nothing. I mean, but like the last time I did that, I felt like the week was way more productive because it was like it got my mind in gear. It was like it made me, it like restored me. I don't know how to explain that. So
I mean, Sabbath is, I always think of the term, well, Sabbath, man wasn't made for the Sabbath. Sabbath was made for man.
Right.
And what I think Jesus said that, and what he's trying to suggest is, look, God gave you that seventh day to relax, for you to kind of decompress from that week of work, and but I think it's important to note too, don't abuse that as well. It's too easy to say, like, kind of in my position, probably for the last week, I'm like, I know I have things I need to do, but I get up, I do the very minimum that I could do, and then that's really it. And because I'm kind of abusing that, like, well, I need a break because I'm burnt out, or I need a break from this and that. And the problem is, I'm now becoming a problem for myself, right? I'm kind of trapped myself behind these bars of not can I do it, but will I do it,
right?
And so, but yeah, we'll continue on with that. I like the idea though, where it needs to be within reason. Like one day a week's fine, but for me, I might make it 3, 4.
See, that's right. You're right. You got to be careful with that. But I mean, for example, I had not a friend, but an acquaintance. He was actually a Jewish man, and so on Saturday, what he would do is he would literally close all the curtains, turn off his phone, and stay in his house. You could not find him on Saturday. He didn't go anywhere. I think he prepared his food the day before, so he didn't have to cook anything. Like, he really set aside the time to be able to relax on that day. Now, I never did get to ask him if he was more productive in regard to that, but just kind of what I just said, I was more productive back a few months ago during that week because I took the time to rest. And I felt, it was like, it really felt like I was restored. It was like medicine almost, Yep. And in some ways you might even say that we are, I've often wondered, are we sick because we don't take the time to rest? Or now, you kind of have this opposite is people don't work enough and people don't rest enough. We don't do one or the other really as much as we should, So we're unbalanced really in that, in regard to that. Because we could probably get a lot more work done if we really sat down and did our work. But if we just took one day to rest, we would probably be much more disciplined and motivated to get those things done.
Absolutely, yep.
So,
and there's places in the world like China, people literally die in their chairs at work,
right? Yep.
Because they are working so long and so hard, and of course then there's people like me that. Just the thought of having to go to work, I'm like, no.
Well, that's fairly normal. I mean, myself as a preacher, I love preaching and I love being a preacher, but a lot of people don't realize that there's like a lot of things I do that are not necessarily directly related to my preaching, and those tasks can seem overwhelming and even frustrating when I do them. And that's probably for you with your business. You enjoy the teaching and doing all that, but then there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes nobody else knows that you do, and that's
been a huge eye opener. Was the behind the scenes stuff. So I've we were talking about being humbled yesterday. Well, in many ways here this week, I've been humbled quite a bit. So, and it's only what, Tuesday? Oh no, it's Monday.
Yeah, it's Monday.
Good
You already lost track of your week. He's already a day ahead of us. But so rest. God built us for rest. He kind of pointed out, Jesus said the Sabbath is made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Sabbath was given to you and I to rest. Now, I don't bind the Sabbath on people. I don't do that because I believe that was what the law did, and I don't bind the law on people. But the idea of taking the time to rest, having a whole day to rest, is powerful.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best days to rest is really Sunday. You go to worship, eat a meal, and then for the rest of the day,
relax.
And turn off that phone. Tell your whole family, say, if you need me, I'll see you tomorrow. But that's hard, isn't it? Turn off that phone.
For me, I'm not one of those people that have an issue doing it. I've already practiced it. Like, I've lived my life without social media for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I lived my life without having like a cell phone and stuff. So I was very comfortable in that, because it's like, if people wanted me, you either had to send me a letter, you had to call my wife, or you had to come to my house.
Right.
And so it seemed like I was way more productive and had my head was on my shoulders more, because there is a lot of pitfalls in your life where you can swipe endlessly on your phone.
Oh yeah.
And you just get lost in the sauce. But so again, it's just I agree with you. Sunday is a time where and what's so great about Sunday is it's the first day of the week, and your first day of the week is you're already doing what? Taking a break.
Right.
So what a great way to start your week with no work.
Right.
But Sundays to me used to be the days I dreaded, because then Sundays would follow Monday.
Oh yeah, me too.
But now Sundays are like my absolute favorite.
Yep.
If I can't go to church on Sundays, then just my whole life shouldn't be built around that, but it just feels like my day kind of crumbles apart if I don't get to go to church and worship and see my friends and family. And so it just, church is everything for me on Sunday.
Well, there's certain kind of pillars in our life we kind of hold us up, and when we don't have those pillars, they like even just the pillar of routine, knowing what you're going to do when you wake up.
Yep.
That can be very important. So I guess we kind of I think we've kind of said enough about that subject. So I want to move on to the very next point, which is not overdoing rest, which one of these? That's Proverbs 20 and verse 13. It is so easy to overdo rest. And like I said, we have a tendency to underdo work and overdo rest. How is that possible? How are we underdoing? We're not getting enough rest, and we're not doing enough work.
Yep.
Like, that doesn't make any sense.
We're capable of always being not balanced.
Right.
And just finding that healthy middle ground there of like, okay, well, I'll do this, and this, and then I'll at least, like, if I've done nothing in the day, maybe I get 6 hours of sleep. But I noticed when I was like working in like construction, if I worked 12 hours, I would need like a minimum of like 8 hours of sleep for me to feel like okay in the morning.
Right.
But yeah, I guess it's all about balance,
Right. Very true. You want to go ahead and read Proverbs 20:13?
20:13. Love not sleep, lest you come to poverty. Open your eyes, and you will have plenty of bread.
Right. Solomon's kind of giving a warning here that if we love sleep, well, probably means we're not working. And if we're not working, it means we're not providing. And if we're not providing for ourselves and for you and I, our family, that means that poverty is soon to be there before us. So obviously that's scary to think we wouldn't have the resources that we need.
Yep.
But God has put us in this world with abundant resources, and He's given us also our minds and our bodies and things, and we use those to work, and by working we provide monetary value, and by having monetary value we're able to take care of ourselves and our family. But the way that God has set that up And I notice how I say God has set that up, is that he really wants that to come by our labor. Our labor is important. Well, sleeping is one of the easiest ways to basically fail with labor. Oversleeping, not waking up in the morning, taking long naps during the day, things like that. From time to time, I'll take a power nap, but I try not to make them 30 minutes, and I try especially not to go over like an hour. So
I mean, when you called me, you're like, hey, you want to go do the podcast? And I literally just take my boots off to take a kind of like a power nap, because for whatever reason, it might have been the situation I was telling you about before we started the podcast, with me doing the jury duty thing this morning and then going to my mom's and going through that experience.
Right.
So then I was like, well, maybe that's kind of what made me kind of feel exhausted now, because, it's been an emotional roller coaster ride this morning.
Right.
So I was like, maybe that's why I was feeling tired, but I was literally about to take a power nap when you called me. And so I told my mom, I was like, that's God telling me to get up and get to work,
Right.
So
yeah, there's things that we can do and things that we can accomplish.
Exactly.
But sleep obviously is a good thing, and all things are good in moderation. All things are good when we do them with the amount that we need, but not in excess. For example, eating, we can very easily overeat. So you have to be careful with that. We can oversleep. We can overwork. We can, everything that we do, we have to be careful not to overdo those things. Now, let's be honest here. We probably overdo and underdo just about everything that we do.
Absolutely.
In regard to that. But, God wants us, the way that God has made us, it seems like he wants us to do things with routine, with habit, and also making sure that we do enough of it, not too much of it, you know. So that's important. You think that's important?
Absolutely. Finding that balance to everything, when it comes to sleep, not sleeping too much. When it comes to eating, not eating too much.
Yep.
And when it comes to saying words, but not too many words, So everything, again, it's kind of first full circle. You don't have enough, but you have too much.
Yep.
So you have to find that middle ground there to find what's going to be just right.
So, like, for example, you said that you would sleep for 8 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't work laborious jobs. My job deals mostly with my mind. And so I find that I'm not physically exhausted at the end of the day, but mentally exhausted at the end of the day, especially on Sunday after I get done preaching. I find I have very bad brain fog because I've kind of, everything that's in my head, I've kind of spilled it. And so having done that, I get tired, but then I really feel like I only need about 6 hours of sleep a night. I don't feel like I need 8. If I do 8, I actually feel more tired. I feel more groggy in the morning if I oversleep than if I undersleep. If I undersleep, and I don't know what undersleep, when you get to the point of undersleep, I know they say you need about 8 hours a day, but I guess I just assume that's kind of a general rule, and then there's kind of a flexibility in that. But if I undersleep, I find that my mind functions okay. If I oversleep, my mind really struggles.
I know in the military, when just basic training, they would most of the time when you're first starting out, like, you're on a very strict diet, you're on a very strict workout regimen, you're on a very strict, like, everything's super super tough on you. But when it comes to sleep, that's something that's almost always guaranteed, is that they were going to give you like at least 7 hours of sleep. Mm-hmm. But then towards the end of your training, that's when they kind of start kind of cranking down the kind of like that workload. So you might get 2 hours of sleep, go do a 12-mile ruck for, carry 60, 70 pounds of gear with your weapon and all that. Go do that with 2 or 3 hours of sleep, get to a new location. Okay, now we're going to do shooting, so let's, run some drills. And now you have to be kind of like on your P's and Q's after you're dog tired. Mm-hmm. Then they might say, okay, you can rest for a second, you get 20 minutes of sleep, get up, function again. And so I remember...
Is that training you for the field?
Yeah, it's kind of training you for what it might be like. But most of the time, like, they, the military's paid all these very top Harvard professor, people to figure out their, what are we doing to their bodies and their minds, and how can we make them function the best that they can on the least amount of stuff. And so to me, I've always found that I function significantly worse when I don't have at least 6 hours of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I have to always, because I remember I worked 24-hour shifts at one point, and I remember I was like that brain fog you talk about. I could do the motions of things, but I couldn't remember what I was doing.
Right. See, that's
And so it was, I'll be able to talk to people. I would never remember the conversation. I could remember doing my job, but I couldn't remember the specifics of what I did. So, but again, find what, I guess each person's different. So find what works best for you.
Right.
But again, we're not doctors. We're not telling you need 8, you need 10,
right.
whatever.
Yeah, we don't know. But I'm just going off of what I do.
Yeah.
And where
just personal experiences.
Right.
So.
I mean, so here he says, love not sleep lest you come to poverty. That is, oversleeping can often lead to that. And then open your eyes and you will have plenty of bread. Obviously that means get up, get going, get moving. Well, sometimes we're motivated to do that and we're not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what it comes down to is it's going to be, one of the things I've learned about life is you can run a little bit on motivation, but the majority of it you have to run on discipline. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to tell yourself what you're going to do. And once you tell yourself what you're going to do and you just get used to doing that, you just do it. You're just going to figure out how to do it. And eventually it just becomes a part of your habits and a part of how you are and who you are, and you're better for it.
Yep. That's, when I was in the Army, like in my combat helmet, it's called ACH. When I took it off, I would have a picture of Katie and Mavis in there. Mm-hmm. And because like anytime you take it off, that would be the first thing I would see. And kind of, it serves as my reminder. That's my motivation of what I'm doing, what I'm doing. And I think setting up things in your life to kind of remind you, like if you're at work, maybe like a notification on your phone of like, hey, this is why you're working, and have a picture of your family or something that's driving you. Mm-hmm. Because again, that motivation of that paycheck it's gonna leave you sooner or later. Mm-hmm. But the motivation of why you're there needs to be something well grounded, like your family or again, something that drives you, which I'm a huge family guy. So, mm-hmm. Of course, my family is my priority. So,
right. Absolutely. So, I mean, discipline, there's value in disciplining ourselves. As a minister, Paul would say to discipline, he would say to me, discipline yourself for the purpose of godliness. Also, to be disciplined and diligent in preparing myself in the Word and how I study the Word, rightly dividing the word of truth in 2 Timothy 2:15. Doing those things, it requires discipline. It's not just motivation. Motivation generally lasts it happens kind of at first when you do something new. Mm-hmm. You're really motivated to do it, but after a while, you lose that motivation. No matter how good a thing is, you eventually you just have to tell yourself what you're going to do. So,
and when I worked at the hospital, I was working some pretty tough hours there, and I had to get to the point when my alarm went off, I had to immediately shoot up. Like, the moment I heard it, I would shoot up and get out of bed. Mm-hmm. Because it was so rough. I was so drained because I was walking about 12 miles a day at work. My feet, my legs be falling off, and I already got shin splints and all these other issues. So I have to get out of bed. If I don't, I won't move. And so if I think about it, I can't think. I just got to do.
Right.
And but I really like that though. Just to keep that in mind. Don't love sleep. All right. Let it be something you enjoy, but don't love it. Mm-hmm. And because again, you're gonna bring on a lot of issues when if you don't get enough or if you get too much.
Right. So, there's a balance. Trying to find the balance. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not sure anybody's perfectly balanced, but we certainly can. There's certainly a point where it's excessive, and then there's certainly a point where it's not enough. So. I guess we can move on to the next point. So the first one was make sure that you take a day to rest. God made us that way. The second point was make sure you're not loving rest. Make sure you're not resting constantly from that. The next point I want to talk about is really excuses, making excuses. And this comes from Proverbs 26:13. I really love this verse because it really displays what people will do when they want to make an excuse. And it's kind of a strange verse, but...
What was the verse again?
Proverbs 26:13.
13. It says, the sluggard says, there's a lion in the road, there is a lion in the street. Am I reading that right?
Yep.
Okay, you looked at me, so it like freaked me out there.
No, you're fine. The sluggard says there's a lion in the road, there's a lion in the street. See, that verse is very strange, but the point behind that is he came up with an excuse. Why can't he go? There's a lion in the road. Why can't I leave my house today? There's a lion in the street. So immediately he comes up with an excuse for why he can't do something or why he doesn't want to do something. And excuses are one of the most frustrating things, I would say.
Yep.
I try my best not to make excuses. Have I ever made an excuse to you? Do you ever heard me make an excuse?
Not that I can recall.
No? I think he's just being nice. But now, excuses are what we use to tell it's almost like we're trying to convince ourselves why we can't do something or why we shouldn't do something. And so it's more than just us lying to the person. We're lying to ourselves, Yep.
Yeah. And, so I'm someone that makes a lot of excuses.
Really?
I would find myself as a very big excuse maker. I see.
I've never thought that about you.
Really?
No, and I've never felt like you've made an excuse to me about anything.
I feel like I make a lot of excuses. Now, maybe I say it in my head, but I might not convey it. Mm-hmm. But in my head, I remember, like in the military, when you would go to, test for a school or something. I remember my platoon sergeant came out of his office and he's like, "Hey, I need 20 volunteers," and so about 40 of us raised our hand. Mm-hmm. And he was like, "Okay, well, I need 20 volunteers to go to air assault school." He's like, "And there's 40 of you, so we're gonna play a game." Mm-hmm. I was like, "Great." So he put us outside, and he's like, "You guys are gonna do overhead arm claps until you can't no more, and whoever's the last 20 standing will get to go." Mm-hmm. So for about 3.5 hours, it's just overhead arm claps.
3.5 hours.
Yeah, it was just nonstop.
Oh man.
And people were falling out left and right. I remember I wanted it so bad. I was like, I don't care the pain I'm going to go through, whatever. I'm just going to stay focused. I'm just going to go through the motions. Well, I feel like I've lost that part of me now. Mm-hmm. Like, I used to feel like I was like I was that lion in the road. I guess I was a lion, but now I feel more like a maimed goat, I guess.
Okay.
But I've kind of, like some excuses I have are good. It's like, why don't you do a backflip? Broke my back. Oh, okay. Well, why don't you go run 12 miles? Oh, I broke both my legs and this and that and other. Mm-hmm. But then I think I know so many people, especially like, people missing limbs and stuff that, they don't make excuses. They just go do it. And they're like, as I do it, I'll figure out what I could do to do it. And so to me, though, it's like you're going to need excuses here and there. Like, for instance, people need excuses at jury duty to not go to work. So they had to have a written excuse from the judge to say, I'm missing work because of this.
Yeah.
But that's legitimate, right? Like, we would all agree that's 100% legitimate.
Right. If
Geandre says, hey, let's go to the church, make a podcast, I might say, oh, there's a line in the road. I can't show up or something, And so it's one of those things like this. I would say ponder for a second. When someone says something and you're going to try to make an excuse, just think for a second. Why am I about to try to get out of this? Mm-hmm. Why is this the case? And then come to a conclusion saying, you know what? Because I find myself not wanting to do it, it's going to make me do it.
Yes.
And get that energy to just overcome that. And but yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and I see that's my problem is I don't think I make excuses. I think I struggle with discipline more. Mm-hmm. But I don't feel like I'm an excuse maker. Like, I don't come up with reasons why I can't do something. But what I'll do is, for example, you and I have talked about this before. I come up with, or I procrastinate because I am thinking so hard about it, and I keep trying to think, well, how will it be? I try to think from every angle, so I end up doing what my father-in-law calls, I think he calls it paralysis analysis, or maybe it's the other way around, analysis by paralysis.
I like that.
Yeah. And it basically just means that you're thinking so hard about something that you never actually get to the point with it. So, for example, the reason why we're in this room right now is because I'm rebuilding my office where we were doing the previous podcast. And remember I called you and I said, hey, let's rebuild the office. And then when you got there, I said, well, I don't know how I'm going to get this done. And immediately I started coming up with, well, I don't know if this is going to work. Maybe this isn't a good idea. Maybe today's not a good day. And then I said to you, I said, see, here I go doing that thing. And you said something like, I wasn't going to say it, but I could tell you were doing it. So for me, I have a tendency to overthink, and that turns into my reason not to do something.
And so I'm the opposite. I don't think. I just go do.
Right.
And that's kind of why I'm in the position I am right now, right? Where I'm very overwhelmed with stuff. Like just the thought of it, of the work I need to do, is crippling. Like, it is that bad. And the only way to kill that Goliath, I'm kind of like David right now. I got this huge giant in front of me. The only way to take him down is just go for the knees, like chip him down one inch at a time.
Right.
That's what I need to do, and it's kind of hard because I'm a very prideful person, I would say. I'm very proud of myself, and something I probably need to work on. But again, I want the All Authority podcast to be an outlet for you guys to know you're not alone feeling these things. Yep. It seems like we've talked a lot about depression and why do I feel this way, being unfulfilled, and it seems like there's a lot of negatives. And the truth about it is, as Christians, we experience a lot of negative.
Yeah, so we're just speaking from experience with the topics that we choose and things that we're saying.
Absolutely. So, but I hope you guys feel that you're not alone in your struggle. Like you have a minister who, what you said, about 9 years been doing this, right? Or
well, I'd have to do some math, but I've been doing it for a while now.
For a while.
Yeah.
And you don't get to see the side of a preacher where they kind of tell you their struggle.
Right.
Most preachers kind of, they walk and they've got it figured out. But then behind closed doors, I'm sure they're in a corner. So
just like everybody else. Like you, I mean, I'm no different.
Yeah. And so, but know that there's not one man on this planet that's like that. Even Jesus, the Son of God, when it came to him going to the cross, he was on his face, and he's trying to prepare himself mentally for that fight, what he's about to go through. He knows what's coming for him. He knows after he's gone through that traumatic experience and he's passed over, guess where he's going to be? Back with his Father. Yep. However, it still doesn't change the fact, like, this is going to be really hard. And that's what we need to do, right? We see those giants that's in front of us, and the only way to it is through it, so just...
Well, let me say two things about that. When Jesus went to the cross, of course, he's trying to get to his Father, but in order to get to the Father, he was not motivated in regard to that. He was disciplined, because if you remember, when he was in the garden, he said, Lord, if there's any other way, let this cup pass from me. So that he didn't... He just was struggling with that. I mean, the pain of what he knew he was about to go through. So, I mean, you have that, and I had a second point, but now it's lost on me. So that's all right. Don't worry about it. David and Goliath, right? Because you said he just go for the knees. David went straight for the head. Yeah. I mean, so that should be right there a lesson to us. Just whatever it is, just go straight for it. And there's so many things we don't finish, so many things that we don't do because we're afraid of what could happen, but we're never excited about what could happen. It could be really good, something really great could come from this.
So we need to we need to take a little bit of each other. I'll take some of that analysis part of you,
right?
And you can just take that go-getter attitude from me,
yeah.
And then we'll be pretty unstoppable. I feel like,
yeah, I feel like it too. So. But, so careful with excuses, careful with coming up with the reasons why you can't or reasons why you won't, because really that's just a lie to ourselves when we do that. But let me finish out with this last point, talk about discipline, kind of what we just mentioned, and that comes from Proverbs chapter 6. Now notice we kind of talked about an animal, the lion in the street. Now I want to talk about the ant for just a second and the lesson that we can learn from him. Ants are kind of incredible little creatures. I remember once when I was a kid, I was playing with an anthill And what I did was I was being kind of mean. So I took all the dirt around it and I covered the anthill so they couldn't get out of the hole. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't but a couple minutes later, all of a sudden, they were coming up through the hole again. They had made an entirely new hole and they were coming up. I mean, it didn't matter what I did, they persevered.
So you needed me. I was sticking TNT sticks down there and...
Well, that obviously they're not going to survive that one. But point being, if they're alive and able to keep going, they keep going.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Proverbs 6 through 11.
Go to the ant, O sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise. Without having any chief, officer, or ruler, she prepares her bread in summer and gathers her food in harvest. How long will you lie there, O sluggard? When will you arise from your sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a robber and want like an armed man.
Yeah. So he uses the ant. He calls us the sluggard. He says, go to the ant, O sluggard. Observe her ways. They don't have a leader over them in verse 7. They don't have a chief, an officer, or a ruler.
They just work.
Yeah, they get to work and they don't stop working until they die, essentially. Now, I'm not saying we should do that, and obviously we aren't ants. We're humans. We're made in the image of God, and so that makes us different. But certainly, the ant doesn't have to be told, go do this or go do that. The ant says what needs to be done. They don't even ask that much, really. But I guess to give them a little bit of personification here, the ant basically says what needs to be done, and once they know what needs to be done, they go do it. And, so it's kind of, they're kind of the definition of that go-getter attitude. They don't take the time to, paralysis analysis doesn't exist with ants, So, says that she prepares her bread in summer and gathers her food in harvest. Now that's important because that means that things that they don't procrastinate, essentially. They prepare things when it's time to be prepared. Now I can think of all the things that lately I have to do that I have procrastinated on. If I wanted to, I could probably work for the next month and not take a single break with all the different work I have to do. I mean, but the thing is, if I could do that, I think I would, because I want to get all this stuff done. I have so many things I got to do. Even with the kind of tearing apart my office, that's not done yet. And now it's freezing cold outside where we're having to work. And that doesn't make for a very enjoyable workshop, So they don't procrastinate. Excuse me. Nobody has to tell them what to do. And then he says, why do you lie there, O sluggard? When are you going to awake from your sleep? Once again, going back to that issue of oversleeping, constantly sleeping, laying in bed too much. And of course, it's very easy to lay in bed now because, for example, you have your smartphone. You have a whole television, essentially, when you wake up. If you have a television in your room, you can do that. There's a lot of things that you can do when you wake up that'll keep you from getting up,
And there's a lot of things that will prevent you from even starting your day as soon as you wake up.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just, I always find that my days are always better when I get up a little, like what I would consider early right now. For me, I'd say early right now for me is like 5:30.
Right.
But I get up 5:30. I'm beating my wife out of bed, which is good. I prepare coffee and I kind of get some study time with the Bible. I read some other books. Then I kind of twiddle around here and there, feed the dog. But then my day kind of starts a little better. But I notice immediately by the time it takes for me to go to the martial arts school, I'm already tired. I'm drained because my day's already started really early.
Yeah.
And so that's the hard part about martial arts schools is the time that everyone's getting off of work. Well, I'm just now going to work.
That's right.
Yeah. And so, but I've still had a full day just like everybody else. But
right.
now I'm having to do a little bit more. And so I might wake up at 5:30, but I don't get home until like 9:40, 9:50.
Right.
And then now I'm like, okay, well, I still got to function. I got to do this, and this. So for a while there, I wasn't going to bed until like 3 in the morning. And then I would get up at like 6:30, 7, and then
undersleeping.
I was undersleeping quite a bit. And for the last couple weeks, I haven't done that, but now I haven't done anything. And you see where that burnout of not being balanced there, it can really harm your performance. You know,
it can.
And you have to understand, as workers, we're kind of like athletes. You know, when you, like, everybody that has a job, you're an athlete for one. So as an athlete, you need to look at, okay, what kind of food am I intaking to run this engine in here?
Right.
You know, two, is the fuel that I'm putting in this thing, is it just going to burn real quick, or is that going to be something that's going to keep it running for a while? You know, and the other thing is, okay, it's like, and you know, what am I doing to, you know, prolong my ability to do the sport or this thing? And so you constantly have to be assessing yours, because you got to know a couple things here is that you're going to work the majority of your life, if not all of it.
Right.
You know, the second thing is that you're going to sleep at least a quarter of your life away.
Yeah.
You know, so again, and we are cursed from Genesis, right? Men are cursed with, you're always going to be working. Period.
He says you're going to work, and by the sweat of your brow, you're going to eat until you return to dust.
Yep.
You know.
And so, and that's pretty bone chilling to me.
Yeah.
You know, to know that that's what my future is. But I also know that my future, yes, I have to work here, you know, like on this earth, and do my part. But also, what I'm going to inherit is going to be far greater than what I'm going to be going through here. So essentially, though, I'm trying to warn you guys, if what I'm saying is even remotely similar to your situation, let this be your warning now. It's a trap. All right, Star Wars time. It's a trap. I'm gonna add a meme right there, by the way.
It's a trap.
But so just your body will lie to you. It'll say, you know, just take a little bit of rest. Why don't you rest a little bit longer? Why don't you procrastinate on that a little bit? It's stressing you out, you know. And what you're going to find is that's probably temptation of Satan or something that's kind of getting in there and messing with you. It's trying to throw you off your game, you know. And so, but I refuse to be beaten. So,
well, that kind of what you just said. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest. Just a little, not a lot. A little sleep, a little slumber, little folding of the hands to rest. You have to be careful with that. So once again, you gotta balance that out. I don't have really much more to say about that. What I would encourage you to do is look for discipline in your life. Look for think about what is it that you want to do. I think if you start with the why, you know, why. Or start with the what is it I want to do, and then come with the reason why you want to do that thing, and then that'll kind of help discipline you in regard to that. And then also, if you have a bad day, you have a bad day. If you have a good day, appreciate it. You know, just do what you can do where you can. Yep. So, do you have any last closing remarks?
Absolutely. The thing I want you guys to do for me, I'm going to give you some work, if that's okay. So what I want you guys to do, if this podcast is kind of resonating with you, with some things going on in your life, I want you to leave in the comments below what that one thing is. It doesn't have to. You can tell us more if you want, but just kind of say, in a broad term of what's going on. And what I want you to do is, after you post that comment, and in the next couple of days, we're gonna do our next episode. And in that comment section, I want you guys to tell us what you've done to try to fix that, to try to make progress in that area. And I'll actually update you guys with what I'm going to do to try to better my situation too.
There we go.
And we'll just hold each other accountable and encourage each other. So, but do that. Leave a comment. Say, this is what I'm going through, but this is what I'm going to do to fix it. Next episode, when you watch it, let us know. We'd love to see some responses out there. You know, it'd be great to see you guys, getting some benefit from what we're saying, you know. So, but
I think I got some benefit from just talking about it.
Yeah, I feel I still have that giant in front of me, you know. But the only way to get through, to get away from it, is to get through them, you know. So I'm gonna go whip him a little bit, you know, let him know what's up. I've been resting a little bit, dude, but I'm still here. You know, I want my problems to see me as the lion in the street. You know, they'll be like, "Oh, great, here comes Mason again. He's gonna destroy the day. He's gonna tear it up." And the last thing I'll leave you with, and we'll get out of here. In the military, I want you guys to think, why do we make our beds in the morning? Why is that a requirement?
So I read from a Navy SEAL, it's because you've done at least one achievement. You've already started your day with an achievement. Is that right?
Yep. So you've already achieved one thing in your day. And if your day is to go poorly, at least when you get home, you have a made bed.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
I love that.
So if that's something too, I for one, I want to be honest, I do not make my bed. I would never ever make. I've done it so much in my life. I'm talking hospital folds. I'm talking to the very 1/18th of an inch. I've had to be accurate, with my folds and with how things are positioned on my bed or my cot. So I'm over it. However, I'm telling you guys, if you want to add a little bit more discipline to your day, start by making your bed. And at least if you had a really bad day, you go home to a made bed.
Very true.
So,
I love that. That's great. Yeah,
absolutely. So, all right. Well, I'll lead us off with a word of prayer, and we'll kick it off from there. Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to come with DeAndre today to shoot this podcast. And Father, again, let this study, this motivational Monday, be worth something to others. Allow us to take this word from you and from the Old Testament and Proverbs. Let us not be the sluggard, but let us be the ant. Allow us to go out there and to do the work that needs to be done, Father, so that way we could provide for our families, provide for ourselves, and ultimate, Father, provide for your kingdom. And Father, again, we have so many blessings that is limitless, and we can't count how many things that you do for us that we're just so blessed to have. And Father, again, allow us to empower one another, allow us to learn and engage and connect with one another through this podcast. And again, Father, thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ. For in his name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you all for your time.
Guys, have a good week.